Good evening and welcome to Glutathione Authority. It's been a couple weeks since we've been live.
Yeah, that's right. We had a holiday in Canada last Monday.
Yeah, and then they just had Memorial Day weekend this past weekend in the States.
Yes, today is Memorial Day.
Is it today?
It is today.
Well, happy holiday, everybody.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a different holiday that's pretty much similar to yours, but it's Remembrance Day, and ours is in November. November 11th
Yes,
is ours.
Because you must march in the snow.
If you're in Vancouver, it's rain.
Yeah, rain, whatever.
It's not too bad. So I'd like to welcome Alan Ogden, Mr. Glutathione Authority. He has degrees in pharmacology, nutrition, geriatric medicine, and 4 degrees in nutrition, my brain, and then it's my day off, and then an amazing degree in energy medicine as well. And we're just welcoming him back from Vegas.
Yes, I did go to Vegas for a really quick trip. It was really exciting. We'll probably talk about that a little bit tonight as we get rolling along.
I think we should, because I told him we were going to.
Okay, that'd be a good idea. And then we're going to talk about antioxidants tonight because something occurred to me. So anybody who's watching, listening, whatever you're doing, just drop a note in there if you drove your car today or you or somebody you knew actually rode on an airplane today. So they can just drop that on there. Just say yes. If you drove your car or somebody you knew or yourself actually was on an airplane today. And we'll talk
an airplane or a car?
Airplane or a car.
Okay.
Yep, airplane or a car. And by the way, at the end of today's event, we're going to announce a contest where you can win some great prizes. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. And I get to introduce my business partner and bestie friend here. Is that how you say it?
Bestie friend?
Bestie friend?
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Okay. Harmony Woodington. And we've been doing this for like 3 years, I think. 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. It doesn't...
3.
3 years.
Yeah.
It just came together so cool and so fast, and it just seems so natural, right, for you and I to be talking together that it's really hard to keep track. Because it's one of the things that we just really enjoy doing. So in the time that I've known Harmony, she's went from a person who was suffering immensely from a concussion to somebody who has taken pranic healing, emotion code, body code. Well, body code first, right? Body code, then
emotion code, then body code. Emotion code is like the beginner level,
okay,
and emotion code is the mastery level.
Okay, body code. So pranic healing, emotion code, body code, clinical hypnotherapy, and she continues to study and improve. She's written her own program, by the way. If you ever want to book a healing session with an energy healer, Harmony has her own program that she has spent hours and hours and hours writing, working on.
Days and days and days, months and months, 2 years basically it's been in the works.
2 years. So there's nothing else like it on the planet. I know that for sure, having been in that business and in that industry for a while. There is nothing else like it. So great to be with you. Great to be with you here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
How was Vegas?
So Vegas was really interesting. I flew to Vegas specifically to meet some people who are doing amazing things with the True Keto product. And we had a great discussion about that. I'm not going to really give away a lot of that discussion because I think that will be a later time when we really talk about True Keto. But they have really figured out a program that has incredible results using the True Keto product. And it was great to meet somebody who just looked at the product and said, wow, we think this has a place in what we're doing, and they put it into their operation, their clinic. They have a clinic, put it into their clinic, and the results they're getting have been phenomenal. So it's really good to know and really good to hear. And like I say, we will be talking more about that in the future, I'm sure, as we move along. And then we also talked about antioxidants and the role antioxidants play in weight loss and why they're important in weight loss. But anyway, what really got me thinking about why we needed to talk about antioxidants and weight loss and all that kind of stuff is as I was sitting on the airplane. Do we have anybody that said?
Oh yeah, people are saying.
Yeah.
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 We've got, but it's all cars. Drove a car. Yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't really matter because you could not drive your car or fly in your airplane if your fuel did not have antioxidants in it. And I don't think most people think about antioxidants, they just think of the human body. They don't think about it used anywhere else.
That's true.
But it is essential. It is essential for fuel, for lubricants. If you drove your car today, thankfully, they used antioxidants when they were vulcanizing the rubber on your tire. Had they not, your tires would have blown apart. Had they not used antioxidants in the fuel, you would have burnt up your engine today. Just had a really beautiful explosion and got rid of it. And so antioxidants are kind of ubiquitous in our environment and in our life. And it's really cool.
Yeah,
so,
that's really awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just so you know, there was no such thing as an antioxidant on this beautiful planet we call Earth until vegetables started creating antioxidants, or we didn't even, of course, nobody knew they were antioxidants. The dinosaurs were not concerned about antioxidant therapy.
Not at all.
They weren't concerned about it at all. But actually, that's when antioxidants first appeared in the evolution of things, or the creation of things, whichever term you would like to choose. That's when they first occurred. Plants started making them. And one of the reasons plants started making antioxidants is because when the sun shines down, so this, I'm thinking about this in Vegas, right, where it's like 89 degrees Fahrenheit outside, the sun is, right, and I'm thinking like, okay, people's skin's burning up, and if they didn't have antioxidants, right?
Yeah.
So plants, because they photosynthesize, they need antioxidants or they would burn up. So they started creating antioxidants so they could actually take the sun's energy and make it into chlorophyll and make it into growth factors for plants. And then from that, along came antioxidants in organisms like humans and animals and so on and so forth. So literally, antioxidants have occurred and progressed because life is occurring and progressing. And so it's really an interesting topic when you get, well, it's interesting to me, but I'm a scientist.
I find antioxidants very fascinating. I have ever since I became a skin therapist like 15 years ago.
Right.
So
you would know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would know that they actually put antioxidants in lip gloss, lipstick, eye makeup.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously in your skincare and stuff like that to help with the oxidative stress.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, going back to Vegas. So we started talking about why is it important to have, so these guys are really making things happen with keto, which is really fantastic. But why is it important to make sure that we have adequate antioxidants in weight loss? So one of the things that you do in effective weight loss is, generally speaking, you reduce your calorie intake somehow. I'm not really going to get into how that is. If you're using true keto, of course, we tell people that you need to start reducing your carb intake, your sugar intake. And I would say around the world these days, with the exception of Vegas, where you can still smoke and drink and eat all the carbs you want, apparently it doesn't count in Vegas.
Of course.
You can do that. Because people think that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but it actually goes home with them in their body. However, so we were changing our food groups constantly, and with that, and here's one of the things that people actually don't realize: as you up your vegetable count, so vegetables are rich in what's called thiols. So thiols are a kind of antioxidant, but they're rich in thiols. But thiols actually can interfere with glutathione production in your body. So it is essential. This is really what I wanted to get across to people tonight. It is essential, if you are on a weight management program, it is essential to optimize your glutathione. Now, I've never said it that bluntly and clearly before, But literally in studying antioxidants, how they came about and why they came about, and then realizing so many people now are choosing more vegan type of diets, more vegetarian type of diets. And if you look at the socioeconomic results of those diets, you will find, number one, with vegan and vegetarians, there's no less illness, there's no less cardiovascular disease, there's actually more arthritis in vegans than there is in the general population. And I'm not making a judgment about veganism or anything, I'm just telling you stuff that occurs. One of the things that happens and why you get cardiovascular disease and why you're still subject to those things is the fact that you're getting an overabundance of these thiols in your vegetables, in your vegetable choices, and those eventually can affect your glutathione production. So it's essential to optimize your glutathione when you're on a weight management program.
That's really fascinating. I didn't know that.
I
optimize my glutathione every day because for me it's incredibly important because my brain doesn't function if I don't.
Right.
I like to push my brain so hard, and my cognitive function is so dependent on glutathione. It's just spectacular, my glutathione being optimized. And, you know, I love to have my veggies, but, you know, I didn't think about the fact that I'm eating something that's really healthy for me. You're thinking about all the vitamins and nutrients and everything like that you're getting. And, you know, the other day when I was really, really hungry and I was with a client and I ate way too much celery and then ended up with a whole bunch of air in my stomach that I couldn't get rid of. And I was super bloaty, and it was just the most horrible thing ever.
You were super thiol loaded.
Yeah, that's basically exactly. And it was just the most horrible thing. And I definitely find that the raw roughage, my stomach has such a difficult time with it when it's not broken down, when it's not like steamed or cooked in some way. Whereas the less fibrous vegetables, I'm a lot better at, and I can have those raw without thinking about it. You know, sweet peppers and, you know, cucumber and stuff like that. I'm totally fine with it. But I didn't even think about the fact that it would be impeding my glutathione production. No,
it does. And it's so interesting because, of course, vegan diets have become very, very popular. For all sorts of reasons. But
actually, my one of my clients that I work with, she's in school right now to be a holistic nutritionist, and pretty much all of the girls in her school are vegans.
Right.
And she abandoned the lifestyle fairly recently because of her injury and couldn't heal without collagen.
Right.
And without eating meat. And so in order for her to have the miraculous recovery that she has, the doctors told her she wouldn't walk again. And, you know, it's like 3 months later and she's run a 10K. It's miraculous. She had to have the collagen, but all of her classmates were mad at her for abandoning the vegan lifestyle.
Right.
So it's just really interesting that these people that are, you know, going to school to learn how to become essentially professionals in the nutrition world are all living the vegan lifestyle, thinking that is the healthiest way to live, until they get into school and get a proper education, and then they realize maybe there's some other things that I should be getting into my body.
Yeah. So one of the, you know, when you start to study antioxidants, so we had this period of time, and it's really interesting for me, up until 2005, which really isn't that long ago. It's only 13 years ago. 2005, we could not use the term antioxidant in Canada. So you couldn't label a supplement, so you had to label it like multi-AO, as if somebody didn't know what AO stood for. Like it didn't mean antioxidant, it meant something else. But we literally could not talk about antioxidant therapies. We couldn't, it was a prohibited subject by Health Canada. And the reason for that is because we are essentially oxygen burning machines. We need oxygen. And I don't know if people think about this, but you know, the air you're breathing right now, somebody else has already used at another time, and it went back into the atmosphere, got re-oxygenated and got into your body. But you know, we all share the same air on the planet. It just revolves around the planet. We all share the same air. But we are oxygen burning machines. So the idea of antioxidant therapy was very unpopular in Canada until 2005. And the reason for that was because that was considered to be anti-life. You were actually interfering with the process of life. And people, now that we look at that, we go, well, that's kind of crazy thinking, but it really isn't crazy thinking, because what happened was the pendulum totally swung the other way, and all of a sudden everything we eat, literally everything we put in our mouth, had to have antioxidants. So if you went to the, wherever you went, you're always being exposed to the fact that you need this because it has so many antioxidants. You need this, you need blueberries, you need strawberries, you need this, you need that, whatever, because of its antioxidant potential. So in 1999, actually the United States Department of Agriculture came up with a scoring mechanism, or a marker mechanism for the oxygen reducing and absorbing capacity. So it's called ORAC, O-R-A-C, the ORAC score. So they started to assign ORAC values. Now, remember, they were using plants because animals that they were concerned with, beef, pork, etc., they're not vegan necessarily, right? They're not carnivores, they're vegan. So they were concerned about the ORAC score of plants. And they actually did all the study and the research on plants to figure out the ORAC scores of plants. So they came up with this scoring mechanism. It was never adapted to human use. It was actually just a marketing ploy at the time. So people would look at blueberries and go, oh wow, it's got an ORAC score of X, or they'd look at something else, oh, it's got an ORAC score of this. And they just made the gigantic leap over this chasm that said, well, gosh, if it's got that kind of ORAC score, it's got to be really good for us as humans. Now, back when I was initially struggling with my brain infection, literally, we did not know anything about antioxidants. So if we take a bowl of blueberries, the ORAC score of blueberries is about 8,000. So that was considered really big. By Health Canada at the time, a bowl of blueberries was like, that's huge. I was taking things that were 73,000 ORAC per ounce. And I was taking that multiple times a day. And not really thinking that I was even putting my body at any kind of risk of anything at all, right? Because
why would you?
Why would you, right? And there's kind of this idea on the planet right now that you can just eat all the antioxidants you want and everything's going to be cool.
The more antioxidants, the better.
The more antioxidants, that's true.
Absolutely.
That's what people think, right?
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, it's got antioxidants, got to eat it. I need turmeric and I need cayenne pepper and I need all this stuff because it's got great antioxidant value, and we make supplements that have huge antioxidants, all.
And even more so, it's all of the stuff that you get from like overseas and stuff, like acai berries and golden berries and all these things that our bodies have never been exposed to ever.
You know what's really interesting? I'm so glad you brought that up. Because
I'm brilliant like that.
You're brilliant like that. You are. It just pops right out. Brilliant. I don't use acai at all. And the reason I don't use acai is because they are literally destroying bazillions of acres of Amazon rainforest, just cutting down whatever's there to grow acai berries for the American market. We are losing thousands and thousands of years of evolutionary plants, herbs, and medicines that we may never know about because of the gigantic amount of Amazon forest that's being destroyed so that they can grow acai berries. Acai berries are not native to us. We don't need them at all for anything. I don't use them.
Golden berries, jackfruit, starfruit, dragon fruit, anything that's basically not from where you are from, you actually don't need the plants and nutrients from there. I mean, it's nice to be able to have a starfruit, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And dragon fruit's really cool and it's yummy. So is passion fruit. I like to have stuff like that once in a blue moon just because it's fun, but we don't need it in our daily diet.
Well, what's crazy here is in Canada, we grow cloudberry in the north, and we never harvest it. We never use it for anything.
That's very true. Yeah.
The birds eat it.
But I mean, the ones who are really only getting access to it are the the people who are living really way up north that are aware of it. Those who are living down here in the tropics of Canada have no clue.
Yeah, tropics, right. So I don't eat acai. It's just something that a long time ago I made that decision. As soon as I found out what they were doing to get acai. And I know there's lots of people that don't eat meat because they think, methyl, anyway, it's destroying the ozone layer and all that kind of stuff. If you're eating acai, you're actually destroying bazillion of acres of rainforest. So
technical, bazillion.
Bazillion, that is a technical
I just want to
term.
backtrack for 2 seconds just to make sure that you're being really clear, because Maria Weiss was saying that she mostly cooks her vegetables. She said the raw veggies can impede glutathione production, question mark, question mark.
Okay, so let's
just be really clear so that everybody gets exactly
No, this is something we
saying.
talked about in Vegas, actually. There are many types of vegetables that should not be eaten raw because they need some heat to actually destroy some of the things that we can't digest, and those things actually hang on to nutrients. So yes, you can eat raw broccoli. You know, there's raw food people now, and they eat everything raw because they have the idea that that's better.
Yeah, we've talked about how I tried that for a month and it didn't go over well. I was gas powered.
Yeah. So mushrooms, most of your cruciferous vegetables.
What? Cruciferous?
Yeah, those things. Cruciferous. They need some heat. So broccoli needs some heat. There's lots of things that need heat. Tomatoes are actually better if they're warm compared to cold. Tomatoes are actually better if you pull the skin off and take the seeds out because it gets rid of things that we can't digest. And so there's lots of vegetables. It's not, Maria, it's not because they destroy glutathione production. Eating tons and tons of raw vegetables that are, all vegetables are rich in thiols. That's their antioxidant mechanism. So eating tons and tons of vegetables itself will actually can impede glutathione production because the thiol overload, then what your glutathione does, it takes one of the enzymes that's essential to making glutathione and it actually puts it in a different pathway in our body. So it suppresses our glutathione production. And so if you're eating tons and tons, that's a lot of vegetables to do that. But if you're somebody that's vegan and that's all you're eating, you need to be aware of the fact that that's what's going on. If you're somebody who's eating your vegetables and your meat and you're doing a really nice diet with your fats and so on, it's not as big a concern. I was talking mostly about the vegans who are just so much, they eat tons and tons of vegetables, and that actually can impede glutathione production. Is that more clear?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back and also mention, if you want to understand a little bit more about the interactions between us and the vegetables and such that we're eating, the book that Alan recommended, The Plant Paradox, really does help you to understand what it is that are in plants and their defensive mechanism and that kind of thing. So, it's really, really fantastic for you guys that haven't had a chance to read it or haven't heard about it before. The Plant Paradox, Dr. Gundry.
Yeah, and I love the book. I love it for information. The one thing that you'll notice in his book, and I just need to say this up front, he does not mention glutathione once in the book, which really amazes me because he's done so much research. But it doesn't surprise me because you said something before, and I was going to pick up on this. These people that are going to school and they're getting taught, nobody is teaching them anything about glutathione, even to this day.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that when you go to PubMed, there's now almost 140,000 research articles on glutathione. So it's not that it isn't being researched. It's not that the knowledge isn't there. It's just an overlooked, forgotten thing. People would rather say take turmeric and this and that and whatever. As a matter of fact, there's a company that makes a pill. It's just a herbal pill which increases SOD, sodium oxide dismutase, right? You know that.
Yeah.
It is, right? And catalase. And those are antioxidants. Well, catalase is technically not an antioxidant in our body. We actually don't really know what catalases do in our body. We have bazillions of them, another term.
Bazillions.
We have bazillions of catalases. And they're in many, many reactions, but seriously, we really don't understand the role of catalase. And in research, they've actually eliminated, often in research, they've eliminated catalase, and it has had no effect on the outcome of the research. So we don't really know why they're there, but they're there in abundance.
I think that I was talking to you about the book because on my no brain days, on my Sundays when I was relaxing and stuff, we were discussing this and how it's actually quite miraculous that he hasn't discovered that glutathione is and optimizing your glutathione is amazing in supporting your defense system, seeing as how it literally controls your whole defense system.
Right.
But I really think that when somebody goes on a particular tangent, what happens is when they're focused on one particular thing, they can really kind of do this and put the blinders on, and they explore everything in that avenue and kind of don't end up looking outside of it to see the bigger picture, because what was going on and what he was essentially lecturing was really, in all reality, when you look at it, one portion of what happens within the body when it comes in contact with plants,
right.
and dairy and seeds and all the rest of that kind of stuff, right? But he wasn't taking a step back to look at really overall what it is that controls the body's defense system, which would actually help the body to defend itself against the plant's defense mechanism, right? So it's kind of, it is really just about allowing yourself to be able to take a step back, to be able to see the whole picture overall. But instead, what a scientist will do is hone in on something and spend their whole life studying that, and maybe not get this thing that's really obvious over here.
Well, it's like in medicine, somebody who's a specialist in eye, ear, nose, and throat, don't go talk to them about your urinary tract infection. Like, they don't have a clue. They don't even know what antibiotics are used. They just don't know.
And trying to talk to my GP about my concussion
was
just absolutely pointless. And when I actually saw a neurologist, he said to me, to be honest, we really don't know a lot about concussions. Wow. So he was the man who went to school to be a specialist on the brain, and he told me he really didn't know anything, and he prescribed me an antidepressant. And I was like, perfect. So I'm just going to do this on my own then.
I have so many cool stories. Anyway.
But I really appreciate the information that I got about, KCNA2 versus KCNA1 in our dairy and how that's changed.
Yeah.
And I really respect and appreciate what I learned about lectins and stuff, because I know that you've mentioned lectins, but I think I learned about lectins on a different level when I read that book. So it really did up my knowledge.
I think it's great information. Dr. Gundry's done a great job. He's a specialist. You just keep that in mind. He's a specialist. His book is really great information. And then, once again, he mentioned that he doesn't mention anything about glutathione. And that's really what I went to Vegas for, was to talk to these people who are having gigantic success with through keto. I went there to talk to them about glutathione, about immunity, about cleanses, etc., etc. And so other things that are really important. And that's one of the things that we want to do on our program. Even though it's called Glutathione Authority, we often talk about stuff that's outside of that to just to let you know that we're trying to take this broad view of things and give you more information so you can take a broader view. I also disagree with his protein requirement that he mentions in the book. It's fine for his clients that he's monitoring every day, but for everyday people, my protein requirement, according to his book, would be about 30 grams a day, and I have that every morning. I have more than that, actually, every morning. So, all right, so back to, antioxidants. So there are, so what developed in nature as antioxidant is, first of all, the very first thing that appeared on the planet, I think we should have people guess this one too.
Yeah.
What was the very first antioxidant that appeared in plants? Da, 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 da.
It's going to take a while for the answers to start filtering in, so you're going to have to...
talk about something else for a bit?
Yeah, you're going to have to keep it going. So we'll see if you guys can guess what the first antioxidant is that appeared in plants.
Okay, so, and then we all know that glutathione was coincident with life, and it was the very first antioxidant to ever appear in single-cell organisms, both plants and... So it's not glutathione, just so they know, it's not glutathione. We're talking about what else appeared in plants that we still look for today as an antioxidant. So
we've got guesses coming in.
Cool. So there are natural antioxidants that occur that we need in our body. And then there's an antioxidant no one ever talks about. And that's because it's kind of a secondary antioxidant. We don't really think about it, but it's actually the #1 antioxidant in our blood. So we're going to talk about that. But
Cool.
so glutathione, as we've mentioned, glutathione is the mother of all of this. So you can have your dismuths, excuse me, your DSMO, you can have catalase, you can have other things, and you can get them, your thiols, etc. You can get them through your diet. You can do a lot of stuff like that. However, many of those things you can actually do without. You cannot do without glutathione. You cannot have life without glutathione. And so I think there's a really important distinction that we need to make here when we're talking about antioxidants, and when you're listening to people talk about antioxidants and how, you know, this antioxidant, that antioxidant, this one's really good for your brain and that one, and all that kind of stuff. Just remember, the one you cannot do without is glutathione. So you can do without turmeric, you can do without alpha-lipoic acid, you can do without a lot of other things. Now you're going to get sick if you don't have vitamin C, and we know that. That's a pretty well-established fact, but you cannot live without glutathione. Many of the other things, like I was saying, in research, they've taken catalases out of research and see no effect in the research at all, whether the catalase was there or not. So there's still a mystery. It's even a mystery as to how many there are. We call them catalase. There's many, and they're just really things that stimulate a reaction in the body. They're catalytic. That's where the name came from. So catalase, catalytic, it's a catalyst to get something done. And they disappear really quickly, which is one reason why they're really hard to identify and really hard to pick out what they're doing. So that's a whole study in itself. Some of the other ones, the thiols and so on. So literally what happens in our body, and I think this is really cool to understand. So what glutathione does, how it detoxifies our body from heavy metals and stuff, is it actually makes hydrogen peroxide inside your body. Hydrogen peroxide then has an oxygen that's active. That oxygen can activate or attach to a heavy metal. So you have this ability to then, what happens with hydrogen peroxide, which is really unstable, it turns into water. So now you have aluminum, or you have mercury, or you have lead, or you have zinc, or you have whatever is in your body that shouldn't be there, because your body's made this peroxyl, and there's 5 different kinds of peroxyl. So I'm just going to leave it at hydrogen peroxide for our discussion. But because we all know that hydrogen peroxide, if you leave it on the counter, it turns into water. All the oxygen evaporates, the extra oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. It's unstable. One oxygen will take off into the atmosphere, and you'll be left with a bottle of water. So in our body, we use that. Our body's so smart in the fact that it can create that, and it can use that oxygen to pick up these things that shouldn't be there. And that's really ultimately one of the ways that detoxification happens in your body, is it takes that and then it makes water. How genius is that, right?
Yeah, that's so miraculous.
So miraculous. So there's people that do hydrogen peroxide therapy in the body, and they try to stimulate or emulate that process in the body. I'm not convinced that will work very good, because our body is used to making that, and it makes it in exact quantities that it needs to make it if your glutathione is optimized. So once again, glutathione is the key here. So if your glutathione is optimized, it can make these peroxyls as it needs them and get rid of them. So when we take a lot of antioxidants, what can happen is we will stimulate glutathione production. So when there's a herbal product that people take and they talk about it, and it raises catalase and it raises DSMO and all these things, it raises those, and it raises glutathione. Well, it does because it's over-stimulated 2 pathways in the body that are actually used to detoxify the body and actually used as a natural method of antioxidant. And because glutathione is the controlling mechanism, you are going to get a corresponding increase in glutathione. It doesn't build your glutathione. It's not really understood long term if that's a good thing to do. My thinking on it is it's the same as eating tons and tons and tons of vegetables. It's the same process whereby you're doing something that is really unnatural for the body, and if you don't optimize your glutathione, I think eventually we're going to see tissue damage from some of these things. But that's just my take on it right now. I could be proven wrong. So the best thing to do, optimize your glutathione. So in all the literature that I've read, all the research that I've read, we read about all these things that are in our body and how they work and so on. And ultimately it comes down to, you've got to have glutathione. So, there's all these conditions people talk about now, the MTFR gene expression, that is literally all the expression of that gene is because of low glutathione. There's other things that we talk about in the body, and when we really get looking at them and we look at the process of oxidative stress, because oxidative stress is involved in all of those, ultimately low glutathione is really at the basis of all these super duper confusing conditions and things that have big names. So optimizing glutathione is still the key. I just went back, after I came back from Vegas, I basically spent this last weekend reviewing antioxidant therapies because, right, I was just like intrigued again about it after talking to these gals, and weight loss and how much we need that. Now, one thing we want to talk about is fats.
Before we move to that,
Tracy
Gibson is asking, does this help with Hashimoto's and the vitiligo? That's the most awesome word to try to say.
Okay, we're going to talk about Hashimoto's before I leave. Did we get any guesses on?
The only guess was chlorophyll.
Oh, chlorophyll. Actually, vitamin C. Vitamin C was the first, other than glutathione, vitamin C was the first other antioxidant to appear in, which kind of makes sense. So vitamin C, then your vitamin A, your vitamin E. So those are natural antioxidants in our body. What we know about vitamin A is that it's oil soluble, so you can get too much vitamin A in your body. And there's research now. I just had this question asked on the weekend about somebody who's pregnant and their doctor said, please don't take any vitamin A. What they're talking about is an overabundance of of retinols in your body can actually stimulate a natural abortion. And so where does that happen? It happens with a high dose of vitamin A. We're talking 15,000 or more units of vitamin A. So there's no preparation unless your doctor prescribes it in Canada, maybe in the United States, but in Canada, there are no preparations that have that amount of vitamin A. It's not allowed in Canada, and it's also not allowed in Australia or New Zealand. It's not allowed in Europe. You can't make these mega dose vitamin A's without medical supervision. So I get asked that question a lot, and I mention that because in our countries, I just didn't check the United States, but Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, you cannot make those huge dose vitamin A's without medical supervision. But you're going to read about it. It's going to be there, and I get asked that question quite often.
For the back of your mind as well, Joanne Sloan was asking that if optimizing your glutathione helps you to get rid of fluoride. That was something that I just recently posted an article about on Glutathione Authority too.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people making noise about fluoride and trying to get it out of the water in the States.
Yeah, fluoride was brought in way back in the 40s and 50s. People were drinking well water, groundwater that we were fluoride deficient. Back in those days, we were definitely fluoride deficient. It's very questionable now in America that anybody would be fluoride deficient. I think that overall that problem has been taken care of through food and through other things. Fluoride's added to a lot of things, and it's added to so many cosmetic type things, your dental, your toothpaste, and mouthwash, and all sorts of stuff, as well as water. So we're probably all getting way too much fluoride, and I don't know that a deficiency would show up again in our current day situation. So Hashimoto's is a very interesting, it's very common amongst women. Hashimoto's is a result of high chronic stress. So what happens in our body is with high chronic stress, your adrenal glands actually give out. So it's actually a symptom of adrenal stress. Now, when they treat Hashimoto's, they're treating your thyroid because it's considered a thyroid condition. But the thyroid is a result of adrenal fatigue. It's a result of way too much cortisol. You've used adrenaline, you've used cortisol. Those are things that our body makes and uses for particular, flight or fight. But we're constantly in those situations in our life in America today where if we're driving, we're constantly afraid. If we're at work, we're constantly on guard. We work long, long hours. Then we go home, we have kids, we have this, we have that. Our body doesn't get to rest. So our adrenals begin to fatigue. And as a result, it starts to draw on our thyroid. Our thyroid tries to make up for it. Our thyroid was never meant to make up for adrenal fatigue. So our thyroid starts to go wacky. And then we get Hashimoto's, which is a multi-glandular condition.
So did the Japanese name it because they created it first?
Yeah, Dr. Hashimoto. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Dr. Hashimoto described it.
Because the Japanese work really, really hard. They push themselves. And they live in tiny little apartment buildings where they don't have a lot of space. And they're all crowded together where they don't have a lot of personal space. And, they're not really allowed to express their emotions in the culture. It's quite fascinating. So it doesn't surprise me that it started in Japan.
Just imagine if all the population of the United States lived in California and Oregon.
Oh.
That's how crowded Japan actually is.
Yeah, it's just spectacular.
125 million people in a tiny little space.
They actually have a place that you can go to where you can pay to watch something that's going to make you cry. So that they can have emotion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what Hashimoto's. So actually we do have a product. Glutathione is essential. My thing is glutathione is essential for everything. And then there is a product called Lifta. Lifta is an adaptogen. And adaptogens are exactly what they say. They're to help you to adapt to stress in your life. It can be physical stress. It can be mental stress. Whatever kind of emotional stress, it can be whatever kind of stress. So adaptogens, they're just a class of products on their own. There's only really 3 types of adaptogens that are used in our society today. Cordyceps is what's in Lifta, which is a mushroom. The reason cordyceps is in there, cordyceps has been researched for about 5,000 years in China. Cordyceps actually originally was used by Tibetan people. It grows way high in the mountains in Tibet, the cordyceps mushroom, and it was revered there. It's always sold for more than gold. No matter what the price of gold has been, cordyceps mushroom actually sold for more than that, because it was thought if you gave it to the queen and she got pregnant, you were going to have a son.
Oh.
Right? So that was the folklore behind it, which made it so expensive. So it was actually reserved for royalty because it was very important that they have a son.
Just like the Arctic cloudberry was back in the day as well.
Mm-hmm.
Only royalty were allowed to have it.
Yeah. So anyway, cool story. Cordyceps is now readily available, and it's in Lifta. It's an adaptogen. So what it does is it helps your body adapt to that stress point. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when we all need a break. We've been up since whatever time, sometime in the mid-afternoon. And we actually talked about this in Vegas with the gals as well, because people that are losing weight, that's a critical time. The afternoon, early evening is a real critical time. When your cortisol is up, your insulin is up. When your insulin is up, your body's in fat storage mode. So it's really important to get your cortisol down. So if you're struggling with weight loss, and most Hashimoto's people are also struggling with weight loss, so it's really important to get their cortisol down. So my thing is, you have to take glutathione. That's a must for everybody. As a matter of fact, a recent article I read, which was a summation of 40,000 trials on glutathione. So they do these meta-analysis, they're called.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll take all this information and they do a meta-analysis and they kind of say, okay, this is really what all this stuff is saying. They do that for us folks that don't have time to read 40,000 articles. And essentially, what they said was that glutathione not only is the most important antioxidant, it's the most important supplement that we can take, and it has to be supplemented. You can't give glutathione, it has to be supplemented, it has to be built by your body. All their meta-analysis shows that the use of molecular glutathione and all those things is not the way to treat our body. We need to build glutathione using amino acids, which is what we do and what we recommend here. So, and glutathione, literally, this is the author's quote, this is his summation, I can't think of one person on the planet who should not be optimizing their glutathione. Not my words, his words. After studying, looking at 40,000 different articles on glutathione, the research, and etc. So, glutathione is the place to start with anything, and then you add other things onto that. I love to add collagen protein, because collagen protein, as you said it right at the start, repair. Can't repair without collagen protein.
Exactly.
You literally cannot repair in your body if you do not have the amino acids from collagen protein, the high proline, the high glycine, the high arginine. You have to have those to repair in your body, and we just don't get those from vegetables.
We don't get it from food, straight up.
Yeah,
I was 33 years old when I got my concussion, and the only thing that gave me enough collagen to start the healing process after a year and a half of being in pain was chewing the Probita.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Because the thing that we don't think about is the fact that once you hit 30, your collagen production actually starts to slow down. And the only ones that I think, to be honest, that really get it are the Asians, because they do bone broth and stuff like that, right? So they're attempting to up their collagen levels.
Right. We talked about bone broth when I was in Vegas, because essentially what bone broth gives you is the amino acid proline. So proline is part of the reparative process, particularly for your skin, your hair. And you can tell people that aren't getting enough proline, their skin will start to sag, their teeth you'll lose your gums on your teeth, so your teeth are like looking like they're hanging onto the jawbone, which they are. People's hair will get really scraggly as well, and that's literally a lack of the amino acid proline. And we don't get proline from vegetables. We just don't get it in the quantity we need. So, yeah, really, really important. So, to me...
Joanne Sloan was actually asking about the ashwagandha being an adaptogen. She said ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, yeah. So, mushroom, ashwagandha, rhodiola, those are your big... those are the biggest... those are the most well-known adaptogens, actually. Ginseng is kind of in that category as well, although ginseng has some other activities that are identifiable that kind of put it outside of the adaptogen category, but sometimes ginseng is included in that. But yeah, rhodiola is another one. Cordyceps, ashwagandha.
I don't have any leaf to hear, but I know that you were mentioning, and a lot of the women are mentioning how fantastic it is, because the women who I have been putting their children on the immunity that, are dealing with ADHD and autism and all these different issues, obviously all of those women are dealing with extreme amounts of stress. And so, making sure that they're on the immunity at the same time and taking the Leafta will really, really help to balance that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just, when we look at our lifestyle, we have this idea in North America, which has been drilled into us, that our worth is attached to our work ethic. We need to have...
Oh, so true.
Right? Our worth is completely attached to our work ethic.
That was huge for me. Like, I remember taking one day on the couch and my aunt called me lazy, and it just, created so much emotion in me, even though, you know me, I work so hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got caught resting on the couch one day, and somebody called me lazy, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Right.
And I've always, up until very recently, had this... I constantly have to be going, and if I feel like if I slow down, if I'm not exercising, cooking, cleaning, no, cooking, I don't cook, Scott does that. But, doing work, taking care of my kid, all that kind of stuff, then, I'm not productive.
so many other cultures, indigenous cultures around the world, rest, community time, there's such an integral part of their culture. If we look at North America, what we use for rest is watching competitive sports. That's how people, there's no rest in that, right?
No.
Whether you know it or not. If you're in Vegas tonight and you're watching the hockey game, you're obviously not watching this. But if you're watching the hockey game, if you're watching competitive sports, guys, you're using up your testosterone. Women, you're using up your estrogen and progesterone. Watching competitive sports, it stimulates the same vibrational frequency in us as competing in the sport, except we're not moving physically. So we're having the same hormonal response as the people who are actually doing the sport and have the benefit of the physical activity to actually modulate some of the effects of the increase in hormones. It's amazing. So in America, not only can't relax, but when we supposedly relax, we actually watch something competitive, which is not relaxing to our body or our mind at all.
Wow.
And it's really amazing watching, well, if you ever go to a hockey game or a football game, those people are not relaxed.
No.
They are not relaxed.
No, which is why a lot of riots and all sorts of things happen after sports games.
So, yeah.
Because they're all riled up.
They're all riled up. So, yeah, the guys are just piling on their testosterone, and the women, their progesterone, estrogen's going, like, it's crazy. Anyway, we don't relax. It's not part of our culture. So when I was growing up, when you were growing up, I'm sure it's still being taught today, like your value is in your work ethic. You know, if you're at school, man, they work really hard, they got really high marks, they're a hard worker, they're all that kind of stuff. And it's like, wow, we're still attaching worth to our work ethic rather than our ability to produce something. And if you look at really high producers, people who really make amazing changes in the world, first of all, when they're doing that stuff, they don't feel like they're working. Albert Einstein never felt like he worked a day in his life. He was doing what he loved. He literally did what he loved. Even Henry Ford was doing what he loved. He wanted to create. Thomas Edison was doing what he loved. Thomas Edison actually taught himself how to go to sleep with his eyes open. Now, we don't have to teach that anymore because all you have to do is sit in front of the TV, and that absolutely happens. You go to sleep, your brain shuts off, and you are asleep. You're hypnotized. You're totally hypnotized in front of the TV. Anyway, that's not really what we're going to talk about tonight. Just a little side note. So, I came home from Vegas after talking to these gals who are really, really big in weight loss. And they've done a really great job. They're going to add glutathione, they're going to add some leaf, they're going to add some things to their program, which I think is really essential because, you lose your weight and then you have this thing called life after, right? So you get to the weight you want to be, now you still have to live. And that's when most people's failure kicks in, is after it's all over and they go, oh gosh, now I'm going to go live my life, and the habits come back right away because the stress hasn't gone away. Things haven't adjusted. So adding things in there to help with the stress, adding things in there to make your life easier from a mental point of view is really essential.
Help balance the hormones, help balance the cortisol. There's so many help with the cognitive functions. If you're constantly stressed and everything, it's really hard to think straight. So if you can just fuel that brain a little bit.
Right, yeah. So here's what we're going to do. Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you want to tell them?
Sure, I would absolutely love to. So I had this absolutely fantastic idea that I would love to be able to reward our audience for being so amazing. You guys are always interacting with us and asking questions and commenting. And so what I'd really, really like to do is collect testimonials from anybody who has had an experience with the immunity. So we're looking at this product right here, the beautiful purple box. Anybody that has had a personal experience with the immunity, we would like you to send your testimonial, and you can message us on the Glutathione Authority Facebook page. You can also email your testimonial, be it a video or a write-up, at glutathionauthority@gmail.com, and I will post that. And there is going to be winners. This is going to be a contest. So our first winner that is going to give us the testimony that we are going to love the absolute most is going to get how many boxes?
5.
5 boxes of immunity. So our first prize winner for the best testimonial is going to get 5 boxes of immunity for free. And our second placed winner is going to get how many?
3.
3 boxes of immunity for free. That's probably enough to feed the whole family. And our third place winner is going to get
2.
2. Still absolutely amazing, better than 1. So submit your testimonials, and we'll let you know. We'll do a little poster, and we'll let you guys know when the deadline is and the email address and the places that you can submit your testimonials. So we're looking for everybody's great stories with the immunity. So send those in, and very soon we will be handing away some free product. And this is just the first of many. We're going to focus on the whole VZI line. So tell all of your friends that we are collecting testimonials, and we are going to be giving away free product to the best testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. The best testimonial.
So we are really, really excited to hear from you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to share this. Also, this video is going to be on YouTube, just so you know. The Glutathione Authority YouTube channel. So, oh, John Westcott just joined last second. Hey, Don.
Hey, Don.
So, thank you again for joining us, and we will be back again next week. And look on the Glutathione Authority Facebook page for the contest details that I will be posting. So, we'll see you guys again next week. Bye, everybody.